America's demands are. Okay. So when they try to cut side deals, like there's nothing they can do. The reality of the matter is there's nothing they can do to help Ukraine. So this is them doing their very best. Outside of disbanding NATO or sending their troops into the Ukraine, or forcibly removing all Ukrainian able-bodied men that have refugee status. Anyway, Germany and Ukraine to jointly produce long-range missiles for
Germany
Kyiv.
has announced that it will finance Ukrainian-made long-range missiles for the country to use to fight off Russia's invasion. Now, it had been thought that Germany could supply its own Taurus missiles for Ukraine to use. Let's get a bit more detail and bring in our Europe correspondent, Siobhan Robbins, who is in Berlin for us. So, Siobhan, look, this announcement that Germany is going to finance Ukraine's homemade industry to make these long-range missiles, I guess, will be welcome news in Kyiv. Do we get any more detail, or perhaps not, on the Taurus missiles and whether they'll be provided as well?
Yeah, Taurus was the word that definitely wasn't the headline on either the Chancellor or the President's lips today. But let's just go through what was announced in this joint news conference by President Zelensky and the new German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz. So, as you were saying, one of the things that they've said will happen is that Germany is going to help fund the joint production of long-range missiles in Ukraine and also possibly in Germany as well. They're basically, this is the very first step on this journey together. They're going to sign a document about this today, and hopefully we'll get more information as the days and weeks go on. However, maybe not, because the Chancellor was saying they would keep many details close to their chests for military reasons. Now, other things that Germany confirmed was that it would continue military assistance, that it would help to fund some of the Starlink.
This is wild. EU is soloing now. I don't know. Is that a good thing? No. It's wild because how long do you think that would take? That means that they're gearing up for permanent war. Like, you think that means like at least for another 2 years minimum, probably longer. They suspect that this will continue. And then obviously after that, once these factories are built, then they'll start producing. And then that means, they'll keep using those missiles, as in, This puts a timeline on what European leadership suspects is the continuation of the war, and it's at least like a decade, which is wild.
Starlink services that are given to Ukraine, and also the fact that Merz has said he will do everything he can to ensure that the pipeline is not put into operation. The other thing that he underlined is that he said he didn't feel that Putin has made really any efforts to take part in peace talks, and Zelensky seemed to welcome what was announced today, and also underlining his view that the only way to get Russia to the negotiating table is with continued pressure. And it's interesting that Germany said that they would back the next round of sanctions being worked on by the EU, but also tried to talk to the US about sanctions as well. So what does this all really mean? Well, what it doesn't seem to mean at the moment is that Taurus missiles, these long-range missiles, which can fly for more than 500 kilometers, are going to be sent imminently. It does allow Ukraine to start its own production or get a boost to production, and I guess that's good for the long-term security of the country. Also, both of those leaders looking towards the future of Ukraine once the war ends, and so as we speak, Zelensky has been meeting business leaders here to talk about how the country can be rebuilt. We have already had some reaction from the Kremlin. They have said this is nothing but further provocation, very irresponsible, the position of Germany. I think the big question is, how long will this all take? How long will it be until this joint production of long-range missiles begins?
Indeed.
President Trump is considering new sanctions on Russia as he warns Vladimir Putin over repeated attacks on Ukraine with no peace deal in sight.
Senior White House correspondent.
If you played any 4X games, you know that EU backing down would be a huge strategic blunder. I mean, there is no Like, Europe is nothing, okay? Europe is nothing, especially in this process. Especially because, like, all of its military power still comes from NATO, which is America. So, this could be one way. This could be one way for our European allies to basically militarize without raising any alarm bells, which is a demand being made by America anyway. EU frog's not going to like this. I mean, it's true. Because Europe can only do so much as to try and pressure America. Okay? There is no real genuine material impact that the European countries can have outside of what America's demands are. Okay? So when they try to cut side deals, like, there's nothing they can do. The reality of the matter is there's nothing they can do to help Ukraine. So this is them doing their very best. Outside of disbanding NATO or sending their troops into the Ukraine, or forcibly removing all Ukrainian able-bodied men that have refugee status from within the boundaries of the European Union and pushing them into Ukraine so that they are sent to the front lines, there's not much Europe can do to change the dynamic of the situation. Because the biggest problem here is a lack of manpower, diminished confidence in being able to hold out. They're trying to make up for that with, like, technological improvements in the battlefield. They have, like, crazy ass drone shit. They do, like, drone walls now. They have all the latest and greatest in drone technology. Okay, I see the Russian tanks getting smoked by drones. I see all of it. But at the end of the day, when they're doing massive pushes with overwhelming manpower, there's only so much that technological improvements or technological efficiency can help. Russia also has drones, though. No, I know. Russia's got drones. Ukraine's got drones. Drone warfare is all over the place. But one major issue that Ukraine has is that they don't have enough manpower. Germany has a rather unique economic late-stage capitalism problem. We're running out of demand for our production capabilities, even with falling birth rates. Eternal war is a way to create artificial demands as long as there's targets to strike. The capitalist powers of the world are preparing for global confrontation and world war. This is why I hate the new Cold War narrative, because the present historical moment of multipolarity combined with the collapse of U.S. hegemony is the basis for a world war, not Cold War. Yes, but there has never been a world war with nuclear-armed nations. The entire reason as to why there is a Cold War and not a World War after World War II is because of nuclear armament. We have never fought a global war where either party has nuclear arms. That's the difference. And no, I don't think the Golden Dome makes up for that. Have you seen some of those Chinese warheads, dude? Are you kidding me? There's like warheads that just scramble up and have like 5s on it, and then they just go in random directions once they enter the American airspace. Like, there's no, what are you supposed to do to that? That's just one missile. Now imagine them launching like 30 of those drone swarms off the coastline. There's also, I think, a technology gap, a technological achievement gap, and I think anyone who works in defense in the United States of America is kind of deluding themselves into thinking that we are 20, 30 years ahead of the game. I think that level of confidence is not only wrong, but it's like a dangerous confidence that people have. It's unearned, and we're actively working to dismantle that regardless with like our anti-brain drain initiatives. Bro, you're not an arms expert. Please chill. I'm not. That's why proxy wars exist when two superpowers fight indirectly. Exactly. Why the fuck were we doing all these proxy wars if we were going to do a full-blooded state versus state conflict with nuclear armed nations? All right, well, let's get back to Trump's latest warning to Russia. Putin is playing with fire.
Jackie Heinrich is live with the details. Good morning, Jack. Good morning to you guys. Putin's lackey, Dmitry Medvedev, who served as the bridge between Putin's presidential terms, has posted an implicit threat as President Trump is weighing these harsh sanctions on Russia. Medvedev writes, regarding Trump's words about Putin playing with fire and really bad things happening to Russia, I only know of one really bad thing, World War III. I hope Trump understands this. It comes after President Trump expressed frustration that Putin's continuing to stall peace talks while bombarding Ukraine, saying what Putin...
Bro, look how happy he was. Look how happy he used to be, bro. Cheap explosives, tanks, and jets will become useless.
Doesn't realize is if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. So far, Trump has resisted enacting those sanctions, believing that the peace talks still stand a chance. But he also said Putin has gone, quote, absolutely crazy, warning that if he tries to take all of Ukraine, it will lead to Russia's downfall.
I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people. And something happened to this guy, and I don't like it.
Trump envoy General Keith Kellogg responded to Medvedev's threat, posting, stoking fears of World War III is an unfortunate, reckless comment by Medvedev and an unfitting of a world power. President Trump is working to stop this war and end the killing. We await receipt of the Russian memorandum term sheet that you promised a week ago. Ceasefire now. Just now, a Putin aide doubled down, saying we believe that Trump is not fully informed about Russia, Ukraine's conflict. So far, the Russian response to all of Trump's sanctions that he has been weighing has been to dismiss this as emotional overload and effectively taunt him. But the president's patience does appear to be running thin. The White House, we know, is actively reviewing sanctions options, and already the Senate has a veto-proof bill ready to go that would slap 500% tariffs on any country that buys Russian energy. And you're already hearing from some congressional Republicans say that they are ready to see the Senate act with or without the White House's green light, guys.
But I heard that Senator Thune was almost relieved to see the president come around to what many people think is Vladimir Putin, an irrational actor who has no interest in ceasefire. So if there's 82 votes already.
Brian is so happy that finally Trump is coming around to treating Vladdy Poo as not his best friend, but as a threat, potentially. This was a big deal for Brian Kilmeade, okay? Remember, never forget, Brian Kilmeade personally threw baseballs with Ron DeSantis because his greatest fears for a second Trump administration have been, I mean, they've been materializing every day. So
the only thing holding back the Republicans would be not to make the president look bad or to get ahead of the president's foreign policy, right?
Well, they don't want to make things potentially worse or harder for the Trump negotiation team. And part of the logic behind the White House's decision to not go forward with these tariffs so far, the president says that, he still thinks there's a chance for peace. And there's always the chance that putting these sanctions in place could actually harm the negotiations or make things worse. Now, there seems to have been a real change in the president's attitude toward Putin. He often is reticent to criticize him. He thinks that, they've had a long relationship for a long time and believed that he could bring an end to this war and negotiate an end. That has proven to be a very elusive goal. And his commentary over the weekend that something has happened to Putin, he's gone absolutely crazy, is something that we really haven't heard from the president lately. He has often opted to try to, keep the sides at the negotiating table and hope that yields a result. But Russia is saying they won't do the peace talks at the Vatican and stalling on handing over this memorandum. Trump is running out of patience here, guys.
Yep, I can understand it. Thanks, Jackie.
Jackie. Well, the patience are done because the president, I told people this from the very beginning, just give him a chance to set the deck. He was trying to talk with Putin. Putin said that NATO was a threat.
Dude, it's so funny. We're just like babying the president. An entire media ecosystem designed to try to normalize Trump's incredibly stupid behavior and being like, no, he's not a baby. Stop saying he's a big, wet baby. He's actually an adult. He's actually a big, wet adult who's making strong decisions, okay? After this, we're going to talk about Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate.
Threat to him that everybody wanted World War III, and the president said, okay, I'm going to give you a clean slate. We're going to talk this over. And, of course, Putin overplayed his hand. And I can report that it's not just sanctions. It's not just tariffs that are being considered by the president. He doesn't like seeing dead kids. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like seeing women.
What about kidnapped kids?
And the kidnapping.
They kidnap tens of thousands.
He doesn't
of children.
like it. And Putin and all of his allies that are taunting the president, it's not going to work out for you. You should get to the negotiating table. We even tried to give you a new venue, Rome, with a new pope to talk this out, and you still slapped this hand out of the
And
room.
also, it wasn't too long ago. It was May 20th. The president said, we know what they're doing in Russia. We know the capabilities and some of our adversaries and some of our other countries with their nuclear weapons. Yeah. And they're very close to developing. We've heard they're months away in Iran. So the president said on May 20th, he released this on social media, that he had plans for the Golden Dome. And this would intercept any missiles that come over toward America. Donald Trump said adversaries are quickly modernizing their nuclear forces, capable of attacking the U.S. in 1 hour. They can travel 6,000 miles in 1 hour. Pete Hegseth said if we can build this Golden Dome, it will be designed to protect us from cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, drones, whether conventional or nuclear. The cost is expensive. It's $175 billion. And President Trump says it could be operational in 3 years and 100% successful.
Right. So with the Russia threat, number one, they talk about the Russia in particular retooling their entire economy to be focused on war. So they make...
Wow. Who would do such a thing? Wow. I hate when people retool their entire economy to be a war economy. I would... Luckily, not us. We have not done such a thing. That would be crazy. That'd be really weird and gross and fucked up to do that.
Howitzers and tanks. So they're not, they as J.D. Vance said last week, they don't know how to get out of this. How do you get out of a war economy that 45%?
Yeah, we're never leaving the era of Brandonism. We went from CNN talking about how strong Biden is for shitting himself on camera to Fox talking about how strong Trump is for throwing up on himself for the past 4 months. Brandonism forever. Yes. Brandonism is never going away. Every president going forward is going to be a little bit more Brandon than the next, okay?
Percent of all your GDP is jobs, steel, making weapons. So what you do is you obviously make an alliance with the United States, and you have an economic alliance with rare earth and other things and begin to demilitarize. He just doesn't see it that way, and he's blowing a golden opportunity. With the Golden Dome, he condemns it. They don't want it. China doesn't want it. North Korea doesn't want it.
Of course they
Why?
don't.
Because this would block all their weaponry and make them and China start working on space and their own Golden Domes.
Similar to what they have in Israel.
But if you want to stop the nuclear...
Similar to what they have in Israel, we have designed Israel's anti-missile defense systems. What are you talking about? We already have we have all of the Israeli defense systems. They are ours. Okay? What are you talking about? Oh my God. The idea that like the American the American nation state does not have direct targeting, direct tracking, and surface-to-air anti-missile defense systems everywhere is so fucking nutty.
Attack, no, they won't work. That'll be one way to do it. The other thing is going to cost $25 billion initially, and they say up to $750 billion over the course of 5 to 10 years.
I know you need to get to the political story, but I think the main thing in this...
Brother, she's a military chief. Shut the fuck up. True.